the ocean to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
everyone. It's a beautiful day to blow out with my colleague, if you know what I mean. And of course, our guest who's seated live in the studio. But just a quick reminder that ATM Blowout is a syndicated live program of the network. Our job here is simple. We hold conversation on special interest topics to bring you news, events, and stories through correspondent reports, this through expert opinions and stakeholders analysis. Today on ATM Blowout, of course, we kick off with the anchors chat. Governor to appoint Irumba State weightlifting coach.
On security, we have military ready for Imo Kogi by Elsa State's Guba polls.
Still in Imo State, violence, vote buying, selling dark side of our electoral contest. This is coming from Catholic Bishop Conference of Nigeria.
From the FCTA, we have Wike warns ground rent defaulters over revocation of plots.
In Benue State, lawmakers give Governor Alia 72 hours to appoint security advisor.
Concerning November 11 elections, we have IPAC tasks INEC to reaffirm citizens' confidence.
In National Assembly, reps call for investigation into Benue bank robbery.
On the National Assembly, we have Senate to probe money spent on refineries.
A resource person on the show this morning is a lecturer, an academia, if you may, Zoe Solomon Tamino Toye. But he's speaking to us this morning as a public affairs analyst. So take a short break. When we come back, we'll bring you Anchor's chat and see how Governor Otu is ensuring that Irumba Etim was not just taken off the street, but spent money to rehabilitate him and also gave him a means of livelihood. We'll come back to you after the break on that.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today.
Right, welcome back to ATM Blowout. We're going straight with our anchor's chat this morning. Now, Cross River State government says it has expended over 10 million naira to medically rehabilitate ex-Olympian ATM Irumba 2 months after taking him away from Lagos streets, where he was squatting and doing menial tasks to survive. The state government has also appointed Irumba as the coach of the state weightlifting team. The appointment letter, taking effect from 1st October 2023, was presented by the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Elvat Ayambem, to Irumba. Commissioner for Sports Development, Agnes Atsu, confirmed the development in her office. Irumba has expressed happiness over the appointment as well as the medical rehabilitation. He prayed God to grant the governor and his cabinet members good health for finding him worthy. The ex-Olympian also pledged to serve the state through his wealth of knowledge in the sports sector. Okay, this is really a very interesting story. You know, having knowledge of this before now, it actually touches the heart to see how someone who had really served the country in that capacity of, really making it to that level of sports. So, he was actually involved in weightlifting. Now, this is not just it's not a cakewalk. It's not a child's play. That part of sports that concerns weightlifting, because thinking about this those days when I actually had time and I had to go to the gym, and I tried some of these things. I knew that this is not a joke. So, but talking about Irumba, a little bit of his story actually shows how patriotic this man is. In the streets of Lagos, how it started, he met an old woman, an aged woman, and he was touched to reach out to her and ask her what the problem was. And, it happened that by asking, he found out that the woman couldn't really cope with boarding tricycles or so, just because of the fares and the problem. He also inquired further and discovered that the problem was because of the potholes that they had on that road, and that had actually increased the fares, the transport fares. And so he just decided instantly that he was going to take care of the potholes. And he actually used his savings to do that. And this is someone who actually was involved fully in sports. He made a name for himself. He brought glory for Nigeria. But at some point, he had an injury that the country even couldn't help him at that moment. So he went back to the US and he took care of himself with his savings. But he came back and, he found something doing. He found a place to still do, something that could be a blessing to the country. And so he started with his money. You could see him doing a lot on the road, repairing all the potholes and all that. And it got to a point, people started recognizing him, because that's one thing, with life. Whatever you do, you might not know, but someone is always watching. Like we always know, someone is watching. So if you're doing good, you're doing bad, people are always watching. And one day, it always pays off. And one Sheikh Musa actually, gave him 500,000. And even before then, he started getting noticed and all that. And that has brought him to the government now. He's been appointed to take charge, to take charge of that particular aspect that he has actually measured in weightlifting. So it's really quite commendable of the state government to really have reached out to him. And when you check this, I don't know, it's like it runs in the blood and in the family of the Bassians, because we have Patrick Bassi, we have Paul Bassi, now we have Iromba Bassi, and the governor himself also has Bassi in his name. So we just give kudos to the government, and we pray that such good thoughts really continues, and we find a way to always reach out to those who have actually been a blessing to the country. Really doing something very commendable to make things very work out.
I just want to come in from the angle of caring for our legends, veterans, those who have served the country in different capacity. It's not just Iromba A-team. There are several persons in that capacity. In fact, as a matter of fact, 2 days ago, Google decided to celebrate our very own Rashidi Yekini by, changing the Google design to him in commemoration of him. Sports-wise, to those who, in fact, this is also one of the reasons why history must become a major part of our academic studies across board, from nursery to all level of education in this country. Legends like, I talked about Rashidi Yekini, there is Samuel Okmaraji, there are several other sports veterans or legends. Some of them had passed on. Talk about Stephen Keshi. There are too many of them. There are those who are still alive today who, for one reason or the other, some of them succeeded. The likes of JJ and Kano Anko, they were able to make something out of themselves. Yeah, some time ago, one of them was hospital, can't remember his name right now, and then Nigerians were being asked to contribute money to spend on them. So the angle for me is caring for our legends, veterans, those who in one capacity or the other have served this country, giving their utmost best to carry the flag of this country within and beyond the shores of Nigeria. Whether they are bringing us entertainment in the angle of sport, or they are bringing us entertainment in the angle of movies, music, and what have you, it becomes pertinent for us to, as a nation, come together to take a cue from what the Cross River State Governor have done to say, don't just pick these people up. Bring them to the point where they become useful. At the point when Iromba was somewhere, living in Squilo, somewhere in Lagos State, who I'm sure that a lot of persons who saw him may not have realized that he could actually be a coach. And then one very interesting thing about what the governor had done, he has spent about 10 million naira to rehabilitate him and now made him a coach. The beautiful thing about this is when it comes to weightlifting, perseverance, Akwa Ibomite, this is like one of the sports that they are naturally good at. By virtue of what they have had to go through as a people, Akwa Ibomite particularly, if you come to the market and you'll see them lifting, they are the ones who usually, they have this energy by nature, I don't know, to lift these things. But now, converting that from that oddity into something lucrative, weightlifting is a big sport. Weightlifting is something that major revenue can come from that if it is actually recreated or transformed into something that beautiful enough for Etim, for instance, to bring his wealth of experience from where he's coming from. Being an Olympian is no child's play, for crying out loud. So there must be something he's got on with him. He can bring to the form to ensure that he begins to transfer that knowledge. We should, in few years' time, all things being equal, have perseverance, we need to have more Olympians who are into weightlifting, more Olympians who can compete. This is a big sport in the US, at least I know about that. So I don't know why sometimes, we just ignore some of these things. Everybody's either looking at crude oil or looking at politics or looking at, can even include internet fraud right now. I mean, what do I even know, as a matter of fact? We're just looking at what is a lucrative way to ensure that you become and all of that. But the truth is, some of these ingenious ideas or prospects is something that we can actually begin to invest in. Stars can come from this, and you may never know how big this could go. Again, Cross River is one of those states where tourism is a major part of their IGR. So if this can actually be magnified, now that the government is interested in it and have given him a platform, if they can actually go a long way to invest and give him proper, whatever he requires, to make this a big, I'm sure that people from other states will come to Cross River to compete, to make this a bigger sport. And I mean, who says that this cannot become a major TV content, as a matter of fact, just like it is in other countries. And this is not just, by the way, weightlifting is not just a male thing. Females do weightlifting, and I'm sure some of you are aware of this. So it's a big sport with some good money attached to it. So I'm glad that Governor Obasi Otu of Cross River State have picked him up, and he has done fantastically well, picking him up from the school or cleaning him up, investing money in his medical rehabilitation, and of course ensuring that he's now a coach for this state. I mean, come on. So this is applaudable, and I hope that this becomes a reason why all of us, everyone in position, let's begin to look out for our veterans. We're talking about Mr. Ibu, for instance, now. So a lot of people, it's a joke. What did he do with his money, or whatever you want to make out of it? But can I ask you a question? What actually made you think that while he was doing all of those comedy shows and making us laugh, that he was being paid for most of the things he was doing? Sometimes we don't understand this industry because there's camera on someone's face. There's this conclusion people draw that, oh, the person must have money, the person is doing well. Everyone, let's look out for our veterans. And veterans are not just those who are in the entertainment industry. There are women and men who in our villages, in our communities, who have served in different capacities. We went to Goni recently to see a centurion. She was one of the renowned, I think she was the first medical nurse in the River State government, under the River State government health medical facilities. She's 100 who traveled there, and then when you listen to her, we didn't go there as Atlantic Television Network because we wanted to know. It's the fact that we wanted to add value to her essence. So we traveled to Kano, Goni land, saw her. It was such a beautiful experience, and we're almost done with production. We'll get that to you. What am I trying to point out? There are veterans at every point in our life. Some of those old people who retired and went back home in the villages, just going to say hi to them, give them 5 or 10 minutes of your time will add to their life. And it may amaze you what you can glean from these people. They are not witches. And they are not mad people. If only we can begin to think about this critically and ask ourselves, where are our aged, our veterans, people amongst us, from our communities to the state level, to the national level? Let Governor Basi Otu's step to rehabilitate Irumba Etim right now become something that will be a push for each and every way, a motivation for each and every one of us to say, where are our legends? These men who fought in the army, for instance, where are these people? Let's stop concluding that they are witches. You know what I mean? They are humans. Let's begin to look out for them and see how we can actually make whatever is left of their life beautiful. And that's much you can do on Anchor's Chat, everyone. We'll come back to you right now after the break.
On ATN.
people into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people. All of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a bad family. Natural occurrence, war, the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Welcome back to ATM Blowout, everyone. Now, I'd like to quickly welcome our guests on the show this morning, Mr. Zoe Solomon Terminal Tonye. Good to have you on ATN Blowout.
It's my pleasure. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Thank you.
So let's get to Bayelsa, everyone. Oh, not Bayelsa, Bayelsa Kogi and Edo, Bayelsa Imo Kogi State. So Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa says the military was prepared for the off-cycle elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa State. Musa warned that any act of violence would not be condoned before, during, and after the elections. He said elections in the 3 states have been marred by violence in the past. The Independent National Electoral Commission had fixed the governorship elections in the 3 states for Saturday, November 11, 2023. While speaking at the Defense Headquarters in Abuja during the maiden visit of the Minister of Defense, Abubakar Badaru, Musa stressed that the military would stop at nothing to ensure the polls in the 3 states are devoid of violence. Musa also said the federal government has allocated special funds for the treatment of soldiers wounded at the various theaters of operations across the federation. Here is the kick in this conversation. When I saw this, the military threatening civilians that they're not going to tolerate violence, I ask that question. 1, are we at war? If we are not at war, what is it about Kogi State in 3 states election that is making the military sound as if they're sending their mercenaries or their armory, if you may, down to these states to ensure effective election? Again, also, what is it about our election that makes it so difficult, even with the money we expended in Beavers or the IREV, if you may, that we're still talking about violence during the elections? I'd like to bring you in here, Zoe.
All right, thank you very much. I was just wondering when you were reading that question you just asked, it's just a question that came to my mind too. Are we at war? Why will, at this time in our life, we've conducted several elections, just in 3 or 4 states they were talking about here, and the military, is that their duty? This is not the military's duty. That's not their constitutional duty. Why are they coming in to talk about an election? It sounds like a taboo, because the military has nothing to do with this civilian activity in our country. If it is the police or the civil defense that have bring up this warning, it will be understandable, but they are constitutionally empowered to monitor, ensure security during the electioneering period or during the election. But why will the military come? I don't want to use the word failed states, but these are symptoms. Okay, let me be moderate. I will say institutions are failing. This is a sign that institutions are failing. They are derailing from their constitutional duty. If you say the word failed state, it will sound as if now you're being pessimistic. But these are symptoms. Why will the military ever make comments for a civilian election? And the world has moved so far that elections are now become like Christmas thing. People go out, exercise their civic duty in a peaceful manner. But again, you will not only blame the institution like the military who is coming in. They are also responding, to the civil population. How has the civil population conducted itself in terms of election? These are things we also need to look at. So I think we should, the civilian population should be able to understand that election is just a civic duty. It doesn't call for violence. It doesn't call for intimidation. It doesn't call for assassination. So if the civilian population is doing the right thing, I don't think it will call the attention of the military. But it is totally out of place for the military to issue such a warning in a country where we are not at war for just ordinary election.
All right, thank you, sir. The police, like you said, the civil defense corps, those that are constitutionally empowered to actually, see to the security aspect of every election, so to say. So, but as it is now, is this to say that they have actually failed, and that's the reason why the military is taking this stance?
Well, I don't have the details. I don't know why the police is not taking this responsibility. I don't know whether they are relegating. I won't say they have failed. You saw the police in the last election. To some extent, they were able to. They did very well. But I don't know why they are relinquishing their duty now to the military, or if the military is now taking over, imposing. We can't tell. We don't have the details. Well, we can't say the police have failed. No, they should rise to the occasion. This is their duty. In fact, the Inspector General of Police should be able to reach to the army command and tell them, look, this is not your duty. This is a civic duty that we are responsible. In case you don't know your duties.
All right, I think that's ideal. But still on this issue, so yeah, about 24 hours ago, the INEC on their X account came out to say that their meeting scheduled with NSA in respect to discuss issues around the elections in these 3 states, where it was scheduled, has been postponed to Friday. Now, when that came to the news, we're wondering, why is this in the news? Why is this conversation? What's ahead? So what's our business with this particularly? But bringing it to the fore that the military is now making an open threat, warning, if you may use a safer word, the civilian population in this state. My colleague asks, can we not say that the police have failed? So you said you wouldn't say the police has failed. Now, so if the police have not failed, and the military is going against what they ought to do by directly imposing themselves or putting themselves in the middle of a civil operation or activity, exercise, at what point is this okay in any developing nation? You also talked about how the civilian of the population should also be held responsible in respect to acts of violence. At what point are we going to hold the umpire responsible for the outcome of elections, or why people begin to see it as a do or die, why people feel like there is need for them to do certain things? Back to you.
Yes, I think to some extent, I don't know if this information has gotten to the National Security Advisor. This is where the president should intervene. He should call the military to order. No, don't be polite about it. It's not just a warning, it's a threat. That statement is a threat. And especially when it's coming from the military. You know, there is a side when once you mention the military, that fear, the hearing of the military alone creates fear in the civil population. Not to talk of the military making such a statement. So I think it's something that the National Security Advisor, or the President, through the National Security, should intervene and call the military to order that is not your role. On the side of the police, like I say, I will repeat again, I don't have far to say the police have failed. But probably they are being reluctant or they are relegating their duty. They should rise up and say, no, military, this is not your duty. They should make a counter statement to this military statement. And again, going back to INEC, this is a developing country yet, but INEC need to step up the game. They need to carry out more enlightenment, more education of the public about election and the value of the election for the civic population and the outcome of the election. The most important thing is the outcome of the election, because those who are eventually going to be the winners of those elections are the people who are going to decide their fate, their life, everything about them will be decided by the people. So
from the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATM.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, social economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe.